Imagine Bo and Dave and Bo. They think about football every night. It's only right to think about the sport you love and talk about it on Amateur Hour.
So you've heard of NFL fantasy football, you've heard of ESPN, you've heard of Yahoo Fantasy Sports, but have you heard of Amateur Hour? This is episode 2, so hopefully you've heard it by now, but we're here to get the word out. This is Amateur Hour episode 2. Welcoming our special guest today, we have Bo, the winner, as promised, of week 1 for the Pick'em. So welcome, Bo.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
The comeback of the season, and it's only the first week, dude.
Yeah, I'd like to
Isn't
start
that
out the
something?
episode. I'd like to start out the episode by apologizing. I was proven wrong, and that's what this podcast is all about. I have no regrets. I'm here to talk the shit, and you backed it up, and you came and with a vengeance and won week 1. So congratulations.
Thank you. We're humble in defeat and we're humble in victory. So I appreciate the kind words. Thank you.
Do you have anyone you want to thank or like a victory speech you have?
Nope. I'm a self-made man, and the picks
Okay.
are yours truly.
It was all you. You don't know it to anyone else, huh?
Nope. I'll give David some credit for the motivation, but that's the extent of it.
That
Thanks.
is,
Yeah,
you
that-
probably.
that's what I'm here for.
motivated. But also, Bo, you have been a little more into sports betting since last Pick'em, right?
True. Yeah. When we started the last year's pick'em, I was kind of just picking games based on who I thought would win, and it turns out that's not a good strategy for betting the spread. So I've done a little bit more research now, getting into it a little bit more.
Well, it's working. Let's get into what beers are we
So far.
drinking this? What beers or drinks are we having this evening?
I'll go first. I've got this beautiful glass of Basil Hayden's bourbon,
Oh,
whiskey bourbon, on the rocks though. I can't do it neat. It's got to be on the rocks.
that's smooth. Dave, what do you got?
I got a classic, the Bud Light,
Nice. And I got a spotted cow
Wisconsin
Very nice.
boy.
to honor the losing Packers. Yes. So
So,
Do we
Bo,
all-
for those out there, Bo, that don't know you, like including me, tell us a little bit about yourself. How do you know Jon? When did you meet? Just give us a little background.
Sure. Yeah. 28. Live in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. Grew up outside of Brownsville, Wisconsin. If anybody knows where that is, home of Michael's Corporation, a little tiny town of I think maybe a couple hundred people. I live in Fond du Lac now with my wife Kaylin and our almost 1-year-old son Alaric. We have a 3-year-old golden retriever Willow, who is in the room with me right now, and we have a little pussycat Maya. She's gonna be 5 now, right? Yeah, she's gonna be 5. I work in insurance. I met Jon through Nick Diltz, actually, a couple years ago. Got to know him a little bit, just kind of in passing, through Nick. I like the guy a little bit more every time I meet him. So good to
you're
you,
too
Jon.
sweet.
He
And
was
he is
nice
a
enough
Packers
to-
fan.
Yes, I am. I'm a huge Packers fan. So I know we'll get into the Packer game a little bit more, but plenty of thoughts where those are for.
So Bo, I can start if you want. Let's hear your relationship report card for the week. How did you do?
Oh, okay. Let me get it up here from my lovely wife Kaylin. She gave me a glowing review this week, actually, which I was a little surprised to get, but that's okay. A score on a 1 to 10 scale of a 9.
Wow.
9 this week. Yeah,
Wow.
for helping
Whoa.
keep the house clean, splitting nighttime tasks to get the little man to bed, and for being a great dad.
Wow.
That's beautiful. First
Yeah.
9 of the season too.
Yeah, it
That
was
is
very
first
nice.
9.
The winner comes in,
Very,
puts his
very
nuts
nice.
on the table, says, "Not only am I the best at the pick'em, but I'm the best husband and boyfriend out there."
You know what?
Oh yeah.
Just
I got a-
dominating the week.
I got the 8.5 because I cleaned everything that Carla asked. It would have been a 9 if I had cleaned without having to be asked.
Yeah, I was gonna
I
say
get
she
an
shouldn't have to
8.5.
ask.
But I do want to
Yeah.
give a shout out to her. She got me this new shirt tonight. It's Mace Windu, who's my favorite
look at that.
Jedi.
Yeah, Mace Windu. That's Samuel L. Jackson, right?
Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mace Windu's pretty badass. There's a
Yep.
purple lightsaber, right? Yeah.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
the only purple one.
Does he have the dualies, or is it just one purple?
No, just one.
Okay. Okay.
What do you got, Dave?
Um, this week I got a 7. So we went
Ooh.
down a little bit since last week, but overall it was a good week. I was killing the bugs again. We have a lot of bugs here on our first floor apartment. Helped a lot with the dishes. Split the cooking duties and dishes duties. But the bad thing was I spent all weekend on the couch watching football. So it was
Ooh.
like officially like the first week of Saturday and Sunday football. So I lost a few points on that one, but that's okay. We'll bounce back once
Hey, and
football's over.
then that can get us into
Natural
quick
downgrade. Yeah.
because you live in Omaha. Scott Frost got shit canned.
Scott Frost got shit canned. He's out. I think it was time. I've known Scott on a personal level for a long time. As an Oregon Duck fan, um, he was the offensive coordinator through Chip Kelly. Went down to UCF, had a lot of success there. Came up to Nebraska and it just did not work out. I don't know. It just didn't mesh well together. I feel bad because it kind of tarnished his reputation. Hopefully he can get a job somewhere else. But it's on to bigger and better things for Nebraska football.
I'm sorry, and they
He
had a
was
hard
a,
on for him because he was QB there, right?
yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say he was alumni for them, wasn't he?
Yep, he was a quarterback, a very good quarterback for them too. So that's why it was a big deal bringing him in, and I think he got a little bit of a longer leash than a normal coach would because of that. He was the alumni, quarterback. But here's one that I'll twist to your guys' direction. Bo, I don't know, are you guys both Wisconsin Badger fans as well?
Yeah. Yep.
I think Paul Christ is on the hot seat. I don't know what you guys' thoughts on that are, but I think his time's coming to an end if he can get it done better.
Yeah, I think it's a deal where you have to manage your expectations, and the idea that Wisconsin's going to go undefeated and challenge for the Big Ten is just not realistic. So we expect these kind of losses. It's just natural, You can't get up too high up for Wisconsin football. It's just not worth it.
Well, I think you can get up against like I don't know. You shouldn't expect to lose like Washington State. I mean, I think, like I said, as an Oregon fan, I'm used to Washington State putting up better performances than you'd expect. But I expect Wisconsin to lose to Michigan and to Ohio State and teams like that. Maybe if they play like Bama or Clemson or something like that. But I think the Washington
Yeah,
States of the world they should take care of. So that's where I think Paul Chris is in trouble.
yeah. You would think as a 17-point favorite at home, you'd be able to win those games, but
Oh
Yeah,
it
shit!
they're
I
just
didn't.
big favorites at home.
oh yeah, and that's my point. You just have to expect those kind of the devastating losses out of a Wisconsin football program that just isn't going to bring in 5-star guys. They're just not. So you're going to have those losses from time to time.
Yeah, and that quarterback's a dud, and he was like a big recruit, wasn't he? That Graham Mertz is
Um,
like a four
Oh yeah,
star or something.
I'm
yeah,
always team Graham Mertz, mostly because I like
No.
Maya Mertz, his younger sister. Shout out Maya Mertz. But yeah, I mean he's had his struggles. I think he's a talented kid that's had his struggles, but I don't know.
And then Iowa lost to Iowa State in the dude. That quarterback
Dude,
sucks ass.
Iowa sucks. I
yeah.
was a
Mm,
backup. I was a backup quarterback in high school, as some people may know, and I think I could do better than that Spencer Petras guy. I swear to God,
yes,
like that guy is
dude.
garbage, hot garbage.
Dude, I don't know how they don't bench his ass. I mean, there's got to be someone else.
Like that's
Yeah.
all you can find in the whole country. You're the University of Iowa, and the best you can have is Spencer Petras. Like
Yeah.
Nick Dilt's ass could run a better offense than this dude.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, I don't know about that. That's a pretty big stretch there, Dave.
Yeah,
I think
So
you knew what was coming from Iowa when they go out in the game one and they score 7 points without scoring a touchdown. I think that kind of sets the tone.
yeah, the
yeah,
expectations are pretty low.
that's a good point. So let's talk about the pick'em results this week. Bo won straight up, like no tiebreaker needed, with 10 out of 16 right, which is
That's always a
incredible.
good. That's always a good feeling. I don't know, Bo. Like I'm not even trying to be a dick right now, but did you win any last year?
No,
Like
no,
feeling of
I don't
the
think I made
You're
feeling
any
of
money
second
at
this
all
year.
last year.
the feeling of, that you had this week of going into the Monday night game and seeing the picks and knowing that you already have it locked up no matter what is a great feeling. Not having to sweat out that Monday night game. So congrats to you.
No,
That's awesome.
yeah, thanks. And I actually took a little bit of a John's advice too. After the Sunday night game, I went back and forth on the Monday night game, and I noticed that there was quite a bit of picks made on the Broncos in that 4.5 after the line had moved pretty significantly up to a full 7 from Tuesday when the lines were locked in. and I had to go with the public and go with that Broncos pick, even though it didn't pan out. But it turned out that was where the picks were, so it worked out for us.
Yeah, because I think there were only 3 people out of 21 that picked the Seahawks.
Yeah,
and that was your lock of the week.
If you were in first place and you picked Denver, and then you looked like once the game kicked off and everyone behind you had Seattle, you'd be shitting bricks the whole Monday night game. But yeah, that was my lock of the week, was Denver minus 4.5. So I don't know. I mean, I was gonna touch on this a little bit later, but like how many games this week we just got boned on like the spreads is crazy. Like I feel like I should have went undefeated this week, but like Denver fumbling on the goal line twice. You have whatever the hell that was at the end of the game, kicking that 64-yarder instead of going for it on 4th and 5. And then that's just that game. I mean, you had the Eagles had their spread locked up all game, and they pissed it down their leg. It's like, I'm trying to think who else came back late. Like, Indianapolis, the Colts, like they should have beat Houston.
That was a big line on that game, though. I think it was 8.5 that we had to pick it against the Houston Colts game. And I mean, that was a big spread, but the Colts, again, here they are, just a mess every year. It just doesn't seem like Frank Reich can get that team straightened out.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is there, but I do like the outlook of Matt Ryan better than I liked the outlook of Carson Wentz. But I did have Houston. That I was trying to think there had to be another game on here. I guess Atlanta covered, but Atlanta pissed that one down their leg.
Yes, absolutely.
Scrolling through the games here.
Yeah,
Cincy should have won easily.
Bo, I wanted to commend you on you picked the Giants and the Falcons to cover, and not a lot of other people in the pick'em or the public were betting on those. So
that was one. Tennessee pissed it down their leg so bad.
Yeah, I think they were up 14-0 or something like that at half, and just let it go to waste.
Yeah.
So it's those games that you pick that are against all odds against other people that kind of help propel you to the forward, I guess.
And then bottom guy was Mike Harvey, but he is getting married this weekend, so I think we can cut him some slack.
That's a shit excuse. Getting married, you can put your picks in and have a.
He got 4 out of 16.
Well, how did his future wife do?
Jenna she got 7 out of 16.
So she was a little bit more focused. I guess she's not as concerned about the wedding, huh?
So I wonder if Mike's doing more of the planning at this point.
He must be, yeah. He had the Bills game right on the Thursday night game, and then he got 3 right after that. He was 3 for 16. Or 3 for 15.
I had a week last year that I got all the like noon games wrong. So after Thursday night football and after all the noon games, I was over. That was a swift kick in the nuts.
Yeah, that's tough. I'll tell you this, Mike. I know your pain, and there's light ahead of the tunnel, bro.
You just got to stick with it, right?
Yep. Keep making those picks.
And then lock of the week last week, I got right with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You got wrong, Dave.
Got right. What did they have? 5 turnovers, the Bengals?
Yep.
Joe Burrow without an appendix is like the worst quarterback of all time. He looks like Spencer Petras without an appendix.
He still scored a lot of fantasy points, which is incredible because I think he had like 4 or 5 interceptions.
Yeah, I mean he should have won them that game at the end. He threw the game-winning touchdown, and then Minka Fitzpatrick, like an incredible blocked extra point. Like you don't see a lot of block kicks anymore. I don't know if they like recently changed any rules, but like you don't see a whole lot of block kicks unless it's like a super long kick where they're trying to kick it low and one of the tall guys jumps up and blocks it. But like guys running off the edge and blocking it, that's like only something you do in Madden when you turn off like offsides and you're just like sprinting against air, and then they hike it and you just sprint and dive in.
Well, they used to do that shit where they jump over the middle of the line. Do you remember that? And they made that like illegal.
No.
Yeah.
You can't be jumping off the guys. Right.
That was fun to watch. And then who was your baller of the week, Dave?
My big baller of the week, I wrote that stuff down too. I had Baker Mayfield. So Baker Mayfield, I thought was gonna, he's a good player with like a chip on his shoulder that always comes out in balls. At least in college he was. So he let me down a little bit, but he did have 19 points. So he finished as quarterback 13 out of the quarterbacks. So it wasn't a big baller week from Baker by any means, but it was a decent week.
Yeah, I would say I missed on mine. I think Brandon Cooks was like 22nd among wide receivers. I think he had like 15 points.
He had 8.2 points and half-point PPR. So he was wide receiver 31. That's not a big baller week, dude.
No, it's not. No, I wasn't claiming it was. So, Bo, you did well this week in fantasy and the Dynasty League.
Yeah.
You want to talk about your stars? Like, who really brought it home for you?
Yeah, it was I don't want to call him a big three quite yet, but Cooper Kupp set the tone right away on Thursday night. Came out with a big night in the losing effort. The Rams only put up 10 points, but Kupp had a huge week, propelled my team. Justin Herbert and Joe Mixon led the charge with Kupp to propel me to victory. I didn't. I think it was maybe the third or fourth highest scoring team in our league, but ended up getting the win, so it was good to see.
I think you were second.
Was it two? Okay.
Yeah.
What a week from Bo. What a week.
Yeah.
I, on the other hand, I did not break 100. I got 95 points. I think Bo had like 150 because I had T. Higgins and Elijah Mitchell, and then Allen Robinson, who ran 96% of routes. He was out there on 96% of pass plays, and he got 2 targets. So it's a shit week. I'm just hoping for 100 this week. I'm just gonna set the bar low and just hope I can keep gradually improving. So, but yeah, good job on football. I think you and Dan, I think Nick's cousin, are looking like one of the better teams because he has that Christian McCaffrey Saquon combo.
Yeah, with Nick Chubb.
Yeah, it's gonna be shitty to fucking play.
Injury prone.
Yeah.
Who?
I said that's risky. Two injury prone guys.
True.
Very boom or bust guys. If they're out there and they're healthy, they're two excellent fantasy players, but they can get banged up pretty easily.
True. Very true.
All right. So let's start in. What was your guys' surprise game of the week? There were a lot of them, but what was one that you were like, you thought the team was going to be garbage this year, but they pulled out the win?
Bo, you have any off the top of your head?
Yeah, I'll go first, and we kind of touched on it earlier. It's the New York Giants. I think the performance to go into Nashville and play pretty poorly in that first half and come out and regroup and steal a win. You got to give Brian Dable a lot of credit. Speaking of a guy that comes out and puts his nuts on the table, I mean, they go down and score, and they could have kicked the extra point and taken their chances in overtime. And he said, nope, we're getting the ball to our best guy and Saquon and let him take us to a victory.
That was a wild ride of a play, wasn't it? I mean, it was
insane.
Clusterfuck, and then all of a sudden dump off, and then it looked like he had 3 guys on him, and I was like, holy man.
And they almost giant and let it go away, and good thing for them, they ended up with a missed field goal attempt at the end and snuck out of Nashville with a win.
Tough to do. That was going to be mine as well, I would say. And I just wanted to, last week Dave talked about how he feels like players win the games, like coaches can prep them, but that game was won by Saquon Barkley. I don't care what you say. Like when it was all on the fucking table, they gave it to him and he snuck it in for 2 points. You know what I mean? That was just pure will. So yeah, it was cool to watch.
He's an animal. He's tough to tackle. I would say I had a couple surprises, obviously, this week, but my big one was the Patriots-Dolphins game. So I believe, let me double check here, it was Patriots plus 2.5 at Miami. Not that I expected the Patriots to blow them out, but I think my brain is just so wired to think when I see Patriots, I think of Tom Brady and Bill Belichick Patriots, and I think that time has just passed. So I was just surprised to see the Dolphins kick the shit out of the New England Patriots week 1, I guess.
Got to remember Tua undefeated against the Patriots.
Really?
Yeah, he has not lost to the New England Patriots as a quarterback in the NFL.
But they made the playoffs last year, didn't they? The Patriots with Mac Jones.
Patriots, I think
they got beat by the Bills, I think.
Yes, they got stomped by the Bills. Yeah, that was the game. The Bills played a perfect game every time they had the ball. They scored a touchdown.
Wow.
Yeah, they killed them, I think. Yeah, that sounds right.
So then, what was the top 3 scorers of the week? Were we going to talk about the players that were the leaders?
I do have that in case you want it.
Justin Jefferson.
Oh, you have it. Okay, sweet.
I think I got it. Justin Jefferson, though, holy shit. We can kind of Well, let's go over the other two, and then we can segue Justin Jefferson into the Packers game.
Sounds good.
So Justin Jefferson was first. Bo's man Cooper Kupp was second with 31.8 points. Oh no, these are wide receivers. Sorry. Okay, overall, my apologies. Patrick Mahomes was second. Josh Allen was third.
Yeah, I won't count
That makes sense.
quarterbacks when you go through that.
Oh, you would just do positional players?
Yeah, I think quarterbacks are just like kind of different level.
Okay, then Saquon and Cooper
Okay.
were 2 and 3.
Sure.
So Cooper Kupp's still up there. Saquon we talked about. But yeah, Cooper Kupp, he didn't score any touchdowns, but it seemed like anytime Matthew Stafford was in trouble, he didn't care who was open. Like if Cooper had 2 on him, it was going to Cooper.
Yeah. I mean, Cooper Kupp
If you want-
is a. Go ahead, Bo.
Sorry, if you're a Packers fan, you can liken that connection between those two to what Rodgers and Devontae Adams have had the last couple of years. Obviously, we're not going to see that anymore, but it was a similar game plan. If the ball is going to anyone, it's going to Cooper Kupp, and I think he actually did have that one touchdown that the Rams scored, if I remember correctly. But yeah,
he did. Okay.
Yep, he did have the one touchdown that they scored, but the rest of it was just catch and run with Kupp, and they like to get him the ball at the line of scrimmage too. A bunch of wide receiver screens or bubble screens, and just kind of let him get downfield. But great route technician, and I'm really excited to see how he fares this year.
And by all accounts, him and Matt Stafford are like thick as thieves. Like they're hanging out all the time, and God, that's all you can want for your fantasy one wide receiver. It just
he was the number one pick, and not the number one overall pick, but my first round pick. So I need the guy to do some work for me.
So what do you think, like Cooper and Matthew, when they're hanging out outside of work, what do you think they like to do together? Does anyone?
I don't know, dude. They seem like book club guys to me. I don't know. They just.
I was just gonna say, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're guys
like
that sit, drink coffee, and hang out on the porch.
Yeah, they're drinking coffee. They're meeting up and chatting about chapter 3 of the To Kill a Mockingbird. I don't know. That's what I think of.
Atticus Finch.
Yeah.
Finch. Yeah, you're right.
Now he's a huge volume guy though, and that's what you got to look for. Like, and we'll talk about him later. But Justin Jefferson too, like those wideouts. Devontae Adams, he had like 18 targets from Derek Carr. Like these wide receivers that the quarterbacks like are looking at the first second they catch the snap. Like those are the wide receivers that are super valuable in fantasy. And I thought Cooper Kupp was going to take like a half step back this year just because he like was just stupid good last year, but. God, he's just such a crisp route runner and so fast and so quick that like he's always open no matter what. Like,
I think he's only 29.
That's like Chad Ochocinco. I think. What did he call himself? Like 7-Eleven because he's always open or what?
He's always open.
Yeah, that's like Cooper Kupp.
That's good.
Yep.
Yeah, good first round pick. That's a good first round pick. Especially you were the 12th pick, weren't you?
I was the last pick. Yep.
Who did you pick with your first pick in the second round?
I went Kupp and then Mixon.
Oh, yeah. And Mixon was balling, wasn't he?
Yeah, and part of the reason I did that is because in the offseason there was a lot of talk about Mixon catching more passes, playing more on third down, and I thought that would be a wise choice to go with him in the second round to get more volume, like David said.
Yeah, I think especially with T. Higgins out with a concussion, I think he's going to see a lot more passes too. I think that could take the volume up a little bit.
Let's hope so.
All right, Justin Jefferson, 9 receptions, 184 yards, career record for him, 2 touchdowns, 30.4 fantasy points, maybe more.
Did Packers have any Did Packers have any of their secondary out? Like, was Jair Alexander not playing, or
they didn't put Jair on him? He was bitching after the game.
Dude, I hate that. I hate when the star cornerbacks do not guard like the best wide receivers. Like, it's so lame. Like Darrelle Revis would always cover the best wide receiver. Like that's like how the NFL used to be played. I feel like, and now it's just like sometimes you'll see Jalen Ramsey like won't be on the best wide receiver, but he's like always talking shit off the field, and it's like if you're gonna talk to shit, like guard the best player and see what happens. Like he got owned by Stephon Diggs the times that he was guarding Stephon Diggs on Thursday, so that was always good to see.
For the record, I'm out on Jalen Ramsey. entirely. The dude's burnt
You're
toast.
you're out on him.
I'm out on Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, I mean he got eaten up this weekend or
I think
Thursday, I guess.
I think Jair wanted to guard him, but for some reason that's not what the is that what you heard, Bo? You are more in depth on it than me. So what did you
Yeah.
see?
So what I've gathered is that the Joe Barry scheme is a lot of zone quarters coverage, which there's not a lot of man-to-man matchups in that defensive scheme. So what you saw was a lot of zone, what they call match coverage, where you have guys that come into your quarter or your portion of the field, and you pass them off from defender to defender. So if you have guys coming across the field, in theory, the guy that would start covering him on the left side of the field would pass him off to you on the right hand side of the field. But obviously, it wasn't working very well for the Packers, which is why you saw Justin Jefferson multiple times running across the field with nobody within 15 to 20 yards of him. So it's not a surprise that he racked up so many yards and just pissed off the Packers single handedly.
What did you think of the offense? I mean, talk about that Christian Watson drop.
I mean, I think it's a tone setter. You catch that ball and you walk in easily for a touchdown. You're up right away in that game, and you give yourself a chance. You get down to the 1 yard line, and 9 times out of 10, AJ Dillon's going to punch it in from a yard out. You're talking about a very different game if you get those two scores. But it's going to be a rough go to start the year, and you saw it from Aaron Rodgers, the way he struggles to trust wide receivers that he's not comfortable with, and you saw that right away. Christian Watson drops the first pass; he doesn't get another target until the fourth quarter. So I mean, I think it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. There's going to be some struggles early. It's good that the Packers get the Bears next week at home, so it's a little bit of a get right game, you'd think, because that Bears defense, if it's not a monsoon, man, I think it might be a little bit of Swiss cheese.
Swiss cheese. Holy, Dave, it's holy.
I'll just let you keep talking about the Packers and then let me know when you're ready to transition over.
I thought the running backs looked good enough, but I think that like the Vikings had to focus on stopping pretty much the run. I didn't think because did Rodgers even have over 200 yards?
I don't know what the final stat line is, but what you have to remember too is that offensive line is a little bit of a makeshift group right now too. Until they get Jenkins and Bakhtiari back in there, I think they're kind of playing musical chairs. I think you're going to see a little bit more time at right tackle until Jenkins can be back, and I think that it's going to be a little bit of a struggle to run the ball efficiently and effectively. But with the Packers offense, I think they've been telling us what they want, and they want to run the football and control the game, play tough defense. But when you've got a makeshift offensive line and you're starting 2 rookies at wide receiver, you have to expect some growing pains. So it might take a little bit to get them going, but I would expect them to be just fine as the season goes along.
Yeah. So Rodgers 195 yards, 1 interceptions, no touchdowns.
First interception against the NFC North since 2019.
You
I think. Did I get that
Impressive.
right, Bo?
That sounds right. I think I remember seeing that graphic during the game. Yeah, that sounds right.
Which is a testament to him, to how well he plays against the NFC North. But he's also very conservative in the past, and I think he's starting to get more of a mindset of like, I don't care, I'm just going to throw it, like more of like a Brett Favre mindset.
Yep.
When I watch, where like you watch him a couple of years ago, and he's just like, if that's not a good situation for me to throw into, I'm not going to throw into it. And like that's what made him like a surgeon. Like he can pick apart the defense, and if he doesn't like it, he'll throw it away. And like when he played against the Vikings this Sunday, he looked a little more reckless, which didn't work at times, but it'll start to get it figured out once he starts to trust those receivers a little more, I think.
Yeah. It was a little bit of a tough matchup between the Packers offensive line and the Vikings defensive front too, especially them bringing in Zadarius Smith. Obviously, he ups their pass rush a little bit, but you can see it. Rodgers, he'll take those calculated risks downfield. You saw it in the first throw of the game. He lofted one to Watson that should have gone for a touchdown. So, I mean, he's going to be throwing it down the field from what we can see. Watson is a good deep threat. He's got good speed and he's big. In the one knock on him out of college was that he would drop a few passes, but you expect that out of rookies.
Yeah, I'm not concerned. Last year, didn't they it's like 3 to 48 or something stupid?
Oh, it was worse. It was worse than the Vikings game. Yeah, they actually kind of hung around in that Vikings game for a while. Just
a little bit.
couldn't put anything together offensively and score enough points to really keep it close.
I still think they get 12 wins on the season.
Yeah.
Personally, but I'm an optimistic. I'm not a realist, as some like to say.
Yep. Oh, I'm with
That's a
you.
lot of wins. It's a lot of wins after starting 0-1.
Give it time, Dave. Give it
What
time.
what are we looking back on? Three straight seasons of 13 wins. I think there's room for optimism.
Yeah, I get
And
that, but I think this year is a little bit different too. Like in the past, they
True.
have had more stability at the wide receiver position, where like this year, I think it's a little more shaky. I think, I do think Aaron Rodgers being Aaron Rodgers, they're going to figure it out. Matt LaFleur, great coach as well, but I think it's going to take a little bit longer than it has in the past. Like I think last year, they got their ass kicked week 1, and then week 2 it started like it was just the same old Packers. But this year, I think, they are playing the Bears, which we'll talk about that too. But I think that it's going to take them a little bit longer to get things grooving like they were, like as opposed to last year.
on the defensive side, did they really sack Kirk Cousins at all? I don't remember
I think
seeing.
they had. I think there were a pair of sacks, and
Okay.
I know from watching some highlights back, there was consistent pressure from Kenny Clark up the middle, Rashawn Gary a little bit off the edge as well. So I think there's room for optimism with the defense, but there's got to be an improvement, and I think they do need to get back to playing a little bit more man-to-man coverage, and we'll see how Joe Barry responds after this week, because I think he's one of those guys too that's kind of taking it in the teeth this week.
Do you know, Bo? Did they do that zone coverage last year?
Yeah, it was kind of a staple because it's kind of a blend of zone and man coverage, because it's zone coverage that kind of turns into man. So we touched on it before, how you kind of passing off guys from defender to defender depending upon where you start and finish on the field and where the wide receivers are lined up. But it's a zone with man principles is kind of the way they describe it. But it's not a true lineup man to man across the board. You cover this guy, you cover that guy. System. That's not really what it's looking like. So we'll see. We'll see if they make the adjustment. And you have to be able to account for a guy like Justin Jefferson and not just let him run down the field all by himself. And the fact that he was being covered by Preston Smith on a couple of plays, I think is a very bad sign. So we'll see how they adjust.
Let's roll into the Bears, Dave. I had watched it on NFL Red Zone, so I was watching the highlights. Trey Lance looked like crap, like I thought he would. What do you think? What are you high on? What are you happy to see with the Bears?
I don't know, like it obviously wasn't a game where you're sitting down watching and like, wow, that the Bears played amazing. But what I am happy about is that after playing like absolute hot garbage in the first half, the offense didn't give up. The offense kept chipping away. Like Justin Fields, I think, is a grinder. He doesn't have like a great offensive line protecting him. He's like running for his life every play. Um, and in that weather, it's very hard to run for your life. But I think if they can give him some time, he is a very accurate quarterback, and he can make like some great plays happen when he's in trouble. If you have a guy like Mitch Trubisky or Nick Foles, who's like basically a statue out there, like you're not going to get great things when there's some rush coming in. But with Fields, if he can, escape, maybe break one tackle, like some good things could happen. We saw that against the 49ers last year as well. We saw it against the 49ers this year, where like he's the guy that can make plays. So it's always exciting to see him play. I was very happy about our defense, even though the weather was terrible. It's terrible for offense and defense, and I think in bad weather games, offense has the advantage because they know where they're going. The defense has to, keep up. And I thought that they played very well against the 49ers offense, who is usually pretty explosive. Granted, they have that new quarterback in there with Trey Lance, but with Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, like Elijah Mitchell for a little bit of the game. They have a lot of good playmakers on offense, and the Bears, kept them quiet throughout the whole game. So it gave us a chance, and that's all you can really ask for.
Did they do the running backs? I had heard, obviously, because I just saw the highlights. Did they do kind of like a 1-2 punch with that Khalil and David Montgomery?
Yeah, the coaching staff that came in with Eberflus is actually really high on Khalil Herbert and not as high on Montgomery. So as a Bear fan, it's kind of disappointing just because we're just used to Montgomery. He's been a great running back through like this terrible era that we've had over the past couple of years. But it seems like week one that we're going to kind of use that 1-2 punch of Montgomery's toughness up the middle and between the tackles, and then Herbert kind of for that change of pace, quick running back aspect, and a good pass catcher out of the backfield too.
Okay.
But yeah, I was trying to think of what I was going to say.
Komet didn't do too well, did he?
No, but I can't really talk too much about the pass game just with that weather. Like if
Yeah, it
you've
should.
thrown a football in the rain, I mean, it's almost impossible. Like especially that kind of rain where you're putting the ball down in like a puddle bit essentially before you snap it. Like it's never going to be dry. So when you're trying to throw that ball, it's very difficult to do. So I was impressed that we even had 2 passing touchdowns throughout the game. Like that's something that I was happy about. So hopefully, in some drier weather at Lambeau Field, we can get the air attack a little bit better.
I think it'll be a fun game. I'm excited. I think
Yeah,
I did successfully sell my tickets on Ticketmaster because we have that wedding,
Very
but
nice.
we're gonna watch it. I think the spread at least in our app, it opened up at 9.5. I don't know if it's moved, but what are your thoughts
I
on
think I
that?
did see Packers -10 when I looked at it today, or this afternoon on ESPN, but I could have changed too.
I'm nervous about it. I don't like the spread.
I mean, I think that's a lot of points to give an NFL team week 2, but if you're going to have to give a big point spread in week 2 of the NFL season, it's Bears at Packers on prime time, early in the season. I think that's always just a catastrophe disaster. Like I'm not optimistic about how this game will go, but I'm hoping at least it can be close and be an exciting game because a lot of Bears Packers games have just been, blowout dog shit games for the past few years. So. And like even as Packer fans, you guys sitting there, you can both say, I hope with honesty in your eyes and honesty in your heart that like a Bears Packers competitive game is like a great thing to see. Seeing blowouts is just not like as fun for the rivalry. Obviously, like me being the one that gets my ass kicked, yeah, I can say that easily, but like close Bears Packers games that you guys beat us are more exciting than like blowout Bears Packers games.
Yeah, I'm pro heart attack pack. I like a good, down to the wire, last second field goal, or like kind of like that Bengals game last year where they doinked a bunch off the
Yeah.
goalpost. Loved it. I mean, you were just freaking on the edge of your seat for at least an hour at the end of the game. So, yeah, I would like to see it close. I wouldn't mind.
I guess I'll come. I'll go to the other side of that. I'll never forget the game where Rodgers put up 6 passing touchdowns in the first half against the Bears. That I think about that at night sometimes when I'm trying to go to sleep, and it makes me happy inside. So I'm all for Packers blowing out the Bears.
Yeah, that was a good game, but he Aaron Rodgers went on a podcast that I listened to, and they asked him, a Bears fan asked him, what was your favorite moment playing the Bears? And he said his favorite moment was that game. I think it was like 2013 or something when I think the Bears were up a good chunk of the game, and then he threw that long ball to Randall Cobb, completely like wide open to win the game, essentially like a buzzer beater, 70-yard touchdown or whatever. So like, hey, if Aaron Rodgers likes the rush of a competitive Chicago Bears Packers football game, you should too,
Oh
bud.
yeah.
So what?
I mean, I'm not saying I don't like the close ones. If it ends in a Packers win, I'm all for it. You think back to a couple of years ago when Rodgers got sacked in the first half by Khalil Mack and was hurting and went into the locker room and came back out all coked out on Percocets and led the Packers to a come from behind win. That's one that lives in the Packers lore as well. So I'm with you. The close ones are fun.
So now I have a question for each of you. If the organization, so we'll start with you, Dave. The Bears organization is listening to you. What is one like September wish you want to get into them for this game? What is one thing you want them to do?
Wait, real quick, just because we already hinted at that. Just I'll show my jersey for this week. We got the Khalil Mack. Okay, just because we already talked about it, but I wore it for 2 reasons. Number one, the Bears won. Number two, because Khalil Mack had a great game for the Chargers. So I'm a big Khalil Mack guy, even though he's not on the Bears anymore. I'm proud of him. He had a great week. 3 sacks, I believe. 3 sacks.
Wow.
I think 1 or 2 strip sacks.
Good work, Khalil.
So what was your question? What am I hopeful for September or something stupid like that?
No, for this game, what is one wish you're submitting? If you're like sending up a prayer, like you're sending a letter to Santa, what is one wish you have? What is one thing you want to see the Bears do?
I mean, obviously, I'm hoping for a win, but if I had to have one wish that can't be just the outcome of the game, I'm hoping Fields has a great game where he throws for like over 300 yards.
Okay.
Or like 300 something total yards. I just think like him playing well will just give him a lot of confidence, because I think if we go in there and we get smoked by the Packers and Fields just has a terrible game, it's going to be tough on his confidence going forward. So even if we don't come out with the win, I think him having a big game is going to be good for the whole team going forward.
That's good. Bo, what is your Sunday night wish to the Packers organization? Any player, coach, or
Yeah, if I could wish for one thing, it would be that Rodgers throws 5 touchdowns in a win, but to 5 different guys. I don't want Bob Tonyan catching 5 touchdowns. I want him to be able to spread the ball around and gain some
Ooh.
confidence in those wide receivers.
Yeah, and I honestly think that is more dangerous when you hit the playoffs than if he's got, like when he had Devontae Adams in that
Yeah,
49ers game and he was just focused on Devontae Adams. Like I think it's better if he doesn't have a favorite guy, he's always just looking for who's ever available. I think that's going to be great long term, David.
Oh
It's going to
yeah,
be really
yeah.
good.
That you're a typical Packers dork that says it's better for the Packers if they don't have Devontae Adams, the best receiver in the league. Get out of here, dude.
We're looking at the silver lining, David. We're trying to
Yeah,
find the
that's
silver lining.
that's different. Being optimistic is different than being stupid.
Okay. All right. So let's get into the big baller of the week for fantasy. You guys want to start? One of you two want to start?
Bo,
yeah,
you got
I've got
any?
one. Yeah, I've got one, and he's actually the quarterback of my team. I want Justin Herbert to go into Arrowhead and light up the Chiefs and assert dominance in that division.
Yeah, shout out Justin Herbert. If he has a good week, you might see a special gift on my next jersey selection for next episode. But yeah, I love Justin Herbert. Being an Oregon Duck fan, I'm a huge Herbert guy. I'm actually like, I would say my second favorite team is the Chargers by default, just with Herbert being there. They have dope jerseys.
Yeah,
They got Khalil Mack. They have Derwin James, my favorite safety in the league. Khalil Mack, obviously one of my favorite edge rushers in the league. Joey Bosa is always exciting and electric. They have Asante Samuel Jr. I used to love his dad. He's a great corner. They
stud.
have J.C. Jackson from the Patriots, excellent
God,
corner. I picked up this Chargers defense because they added a lot of great free agents. They've
Yeah,
had, now I think who's their coach? Brandon Staley.
Staley.
So Staley's a defensive mind, like going in there. They have Kyle Van Noy, you know, obviously an NFL veteran who used to play in the Patriots when they were really solid. Where they got Kenneth Murray Jr. from Oklahoma. Like they just have like a really solid defense.
Yeah,
So I'm a big Chargers guy.
my guy's on the Chargers too. I'm going to say Josh Palmer. I think Mike Williams, he's on my team, so I hope he does well. But I mean, this past week he had like 2 targets or something stupid. But I think Josh Palmer's a guy that I think he'll take over if Keenan Allen for sure doesn't play Thursday night, which it's looking like he may not play. And I could see Josh Palmer getting a touchdown, maybe 6 receptions and 70 yards, maybe 18 points. And he's a guy I think in a lot of leagues he might be available on the waiver wire
yeah,
just for this week.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to see the different quarterbacks in the league and like how some are so locked in and dependent on like one wide receiver. Like you look at Derek Carr week 1 for Devontae Adams, like 18 targets. That's ridiculous.
Crazy,
You
man.
you look at
it's nasty.
Matt Stafford with Cooper Cup. Like I don't know how many targets he had, but it's almost like every play he's looking at Cooper Cup. And then you look at these quarterbacks like Justin Herbert, who's like basically going out there and whoever's the open receiver, he's going to try to get it to. And Pat
Yeah,
Mahomes is another one where like they're just looking downfield, they're looking for the openings in the zone, and they're going to hit those guys like whoever's open. So I
oh
always
yeah,
admire watching those quarterbacks that can like just not even worry about who the wide receiver is, just kind of trusting them and slinging it down there and seeing what happens.
Who's your BBW?
I had a couple queued up, but I'm gonna just pick one. I feel pretty good about Hollywood Brown this week. New Arizona Cardinals wide receiver. They play the Raiders at the Raiders. I think Raiders are destined for a big bounce back game after losing to the Chargers and having their offense kind of take a big dump at the middle of the field. So I think more so because I think the Raiders are going to play really well offensively, that the Cardinals are going to be trying to catch up, almost like we saw this week against the Chiefs, where they'll be like feeding it down the field, and I think they'll find Hollywood Brown a couple times.
He didn't do much this past week, I don't think, did he?
I think he scored a touchdown. I think.
the Cardinals offense as a whole struggled to keep up with the Chiefs, obviously, which most teams do. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was a rough go for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Okay,
But it seemed
so
like to me watching that week one that the Raiders pass defense wasn't very strong. Obviously Herbert like had a lot of success against them with these wide receivers that some people have never heard of. So I feel pretty good about the Cardinals being able to play well against the Raiders secondary.
Oh, with you.
But Hollywood Brown, man, he's someone that I've blacklisted from all my fantasy teams because he has absolute stone hands. Like that guy
Yeah.
can be, he's like has Tyreek Hill speed and like my hands. Like, it's crazy to just watch him like just drop the easiest passes. And I just feel so bad for Lamar Jackson through these years. But I hate Kyler Murray, so I'm just happy to see him on the Cardinals now.
why do you not like Kyler Murray?
Yeah, I'm interested in this too.
I don't know. I don't really have like a big beef with Kyler Murray. I just think he's overrated. He's for how short he is, he's very successful, and I always think that's really cool. And he's like a multi-sport athlete, which is really cool. But I just think he's overrated as a quarterback. I mean, they've had like really solid rosters the last couple of years, and they've just like shit the bed. And when it comes October, November, in football season, so I just never buy the Cardinals hype. I never buy the Kyler Murray hype. The man had to sign a contract saying that he would watch a certain number of hours of film. Like that's a red flag. Like you
Because
look
he
at
loves video
successful
games.
quarterbacks. You look at successful quarterbacks in the NFL. Like Tom Brady's not playing Call of Duty on the weekends. Peyton Manning was not playing Madden or playing MLB The Show. He was sitting down and watching film, and that's what separates the men from the boys. And I think Kyler Murray's always going to be a little boy.
You sound like a boomer, dude. You sound like you're 70 years old and talking about the shitty generation of youngest kids.
No, my beef is not with the video game playing. My beef is just with the fact that like he thinks he's good enough to roll the balls out and play. That was always something that like our JV basketball coach would say, you can't just roll the balls out. And Kyler Murray just thinks he can roll the balls out and play. Like this is the NFL, dude. You got to be watching film. You got to be studying. You got to be like planning for the not only next week, but the week after that and the week after that. And I just don't think he has that mindset right now. I think he's very, very like complacent with his physical abilities. And once his physical abilities start to dwindle a little bit, you're going to see his performance get even worse.
Anyone you hate in the league, Bo?
Oh, this one's easy. It's Russell Wilson. It's a guy that I've got no interest in. I think he's a phony. I'll just say it plainly. I do. I think he's a phony. You see these videos going around of him, practicing before games when there's nobody out there, and practicing his high fives with the fans. And I just the whole "let's ride" deal and go Hawks. I'm over it. I don't need any Russell Wilson in my life.
Oh, so you're
I
happy to
tend
see.
I tend to agree with that. I think Russell Wilson's kind of a loser. Like he obviously is not a loser in real life. He's very successful, like has a very nice family and stuff, whatever. But you know what I mean? On a surface level, like this guy is just I think he's all bark, no bite. And
Yep, I'm with
and
you.
for him to take that dump that he did on Monday Night Football, like I think I lost all respect for him. I was so high on Russell Wilson this year. I'm glad I didn't pick him in any fantasy leagues because I was like, wow, Wilson's gonna have an amazing year for Denver. Like he finally has the weapons. He has an offense that's ready to pass the ball. Like he has nothing holding him back. But it turns out the whole time he was holding himself back.
And I don't think that we're sold on Nathaniel Hackett either. I mean, that's a first year head coach. I think there's going to be some growing pains there too. I mean, they easily could have run away with that game if they don't fumble on the 1 yard line multiple times. So I mean, if they don't do that, well, maybe we're talking more having a very different conversation. But yeah, I think people are talking about them being in the playoffs and before the year potentially making a Super Bowl run. I don't see that either.
Yeah, it was like the Rams last year. I will say I was like anti-Rams. I was saying to myself, there's no way these mother effers get all these guys together and win the Super Bowl. And I was proven wrong, but I feel that the Rams got some stars on defense too, didn't they? And I don't know if Denver did that.
Like added
So
stars this year or last year?
I thought the Rams didn't they have Khalil Mack that they added?
No, you're thinking of the
they
Chargers.
added Bobby Wagner in
That's
the
who it
middle.
was.
Yeah, Bobby Wagner, who came over from Seattle, is a longtime Seahawk. But the Broncos added both Russell Wilson and they kind of stole Randy Gregory away from the Cowboys at defensive end. So, I mean, there's guys on that team, and they could put together a 10-7 record. But playing in that AFC West, I think it's going to be a struggle for them to win games consistently. They might finish third in that division in front of the Raiders.
Well, I was
That's a
going to
tough
say
division.
you hinted that not only the division is tough, but the AFC just in general. I think
Oh
the
yeah,
NFC is a lot weaker, which is why the Rams had obviously the Rams were a great team. They won the Super Bowl, but like they had an easier path than what you would have coming out of the AFC. So that's going to be different.
That's a good point. Yeah, they don't have. I feel like the AFC has a lot more young stud quarterbacks
yeah.
than.
Well, it's cyclical, right? I mean, for the longest time, the NFC dominated the AFC, with the exception of the Colts and the Patriots with Manning and Brady. But from a whole standpoint, the NFC was much better for the longest time, and now you have teams in the AFC that were at the bottom and got these young quarterbacks, and they're going to rebound, and the teams are picking up behind them.
So who is everyone's lock for the week? Let's hear it.
Bo, you got any?
Oh, yeah. I like the Saints at home over the Bucks. The Saints are Tom Brady's Achilles heel since he's gone to Tampa. A quick fun fact: Tom Brady has not beaten the Saints since he's gone to Tampa in the regular season. The only win he has over the Saints was the playoff game a couple years ago. So I like the Saints at home catching 2 against the Bucks.
Good pick. I like that, Dave.
Yeah, my pick is going to be the Bills -9.5 versus Tennessee. I think that's on Monday Night Football. I think we have a Monday Night Football doubleheader this week.
Yes.
I like the Bills to just go in and kind of dominate Tennessee. I think it's at Buffalo. After the egg that Tennessee dumped out this weekend, I have no belief in them. I never believed in Ryan Tannehill, but I thought as a team they were pretty solid. And the Bills looked amazing on Thursday night. I think we can all say that. So I feel confident
True.
that the Bills can cover 10 points against Tennessee.
Okay. I'm a big believer in the Vikings now. That one game has converted me. That's all it took is
Oh wow.
watching Justin Jefferson run up and down the field. That's all I needed. So
On
I'm
the
picking
road.
them. They're 1.5 point underdogs against the Eagles at home. And I do like Jalen Hurts a lot, only because I have his rookie card. And I feel like there's a lot of big games where he plays a good team, and sometimes it'll be close, but they'll lose by just a field goal or a touchdown. So I'm thinking that'll happen this week. I think the Vikings will pull off a 3-point win against the Eagles.
They are on the road, John. The Vikings in Philly this week. That's
Yes.
the second leg of the doubleheader on Monday night.
Yep. And last week I was thinking,
Monday Night Football, dude. Kirk Cousins is trash on prime time. Are you sure you want to keep with that pick?
hey, this is Kirk Cousins unlocked, David. We have never seen this before. He is unlocked, dude. You just wait, you sit back and watch. But
There's
I
no
will
such
say,
thing as an off Kirk Cousins.
last week I was like, okay, my lock of the week, I don't want it to be the Monday night game because in case I'm at the top and then someone knows what I'm going to pick. But this week I'm like, if I suck, I'll just be at the bottom and then I won't have to worry about it. So
I mean, even if it's your lock, you don't have to pick it. That's Jedi mind tricks.
I'm going to pick it. And then this last question I thought impromptu, is there a team that you would rather that is worse to be a fan of right now than the Cowboys, in your opinion?
Yeah, I've got one. It's the New England Patriots. That team, I think, is just an absolute mess. Some might say that Bill Belichick is purposely blowing up that team. I'm not in that camp. But the fact that they don't have an offensive coordinator, I think, says everything that you need to say about that team. I think it's just an absolute mess. Team that is spending the most amount of money in the NFL on in their wide receiver room, and I think Devontae Parker is their one. I think that tells you everything you need to know. If there's a team that's worse to be a fan of than the Dallas Cowboys, it's the New England Patriots right now.
They earned it, though. They had all those years of Tom Brady and Super Bowls, so they can sit back and watch a couple dumpster fires.
But that is a number 2 to the Cowboys, because I think that if there's a worst team to be a fan of right now, it's the Dallas Cowboys. Man, oh man.
I'm so glad that Mike McCarthy is at the Cowboys, though. Every time I watch him on the sideline, it makes me so happy to watch Mike sit there. Yeah, he's thinking. He's not thinking about the game. He's thinking about where he's getting dinner with his wife and buddies after the game. He doesn't give a rip. just like a placeholder. He's Jerry Jones's, Jerry just says, yeah, do this. And Mike says, okay, yeah. Yeah, as long as you give me
He coached you to a Super Bowl, so I don't know why you have to, just shit on him. It's not nice.
Okay. All right,
He's a man with a family. But I was shocked at that Cowboys game. You guys talked about it. Like, obviously, everyone makes fun of the Cowboys, but I did think that they were going to compete a lot more than they did. Man, the Cowboys suck. But to answer your question, I'd say I would hate to be a fan of the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have been trash pretty much my whole life, except for when they went to the the AFC Championship and
Blake
lost
Bortles.
to, I believe, the Patriots. Yeah. They have just been trash. They're still trash. They're going to be trash for years to come. I love Trevor Lawrence. I'm kind of a Clemson supporter, I guess you could say, as a college football fan. So I think that Trevor Lawrence can be solid in the NFL, but I don't think they'll ever be like enough to bring them a Super Bowl or anything like that.
They almost won that game though, didn't they?
They did. They had chances in that game. They really did. There was a couple drop passes in the red zone. I think ETN actually dropped a touchdown in that game that could have really swung things. You really think that the Jags they don't have any hope, huh?
I don't have any hope for the Jaguars, no.
Man, Doug Peterson, another Super Bowl winning coach that you're just throwing dirt on.
Yeah, I mean, but I hinted at episode 1 that I think players are a lot more valuable than the coach, and I don't think they have the players to do it. Plus, like we talked about earlier, the AFC is really tough, and I just don't think, like, at least in the near future, with all the great quarterbacks there are in the AFC, like Trevor Lawrence doesn't stack up to them, and the Jaguars roster doesn't stack up to them.
I guess the benefit to them is that division is trash in itself. So I mean, they could win the division and host a playoff game.
That's a good point. Yeah, they could have a big advantage there. And I mean, you keep stacking these first round picks on top of each other, like year after year after year. Eventually, that team, if you can keep them all together, it could be pretty solid.
Yep.
And Mariota almost pulled one out of his ass.
What do you mean? They were leading the game. I think that their defense pissed it down their leg.
I was obviously, you could argue they blew that game. They were in a position to win it.
I think
they should have won it.
7-point underdogs or 6.5-point underdogs.
No.
They covered spread.
They did. They did. I thought they were going to win, though. I was cheering for them because I know Marcus would be a wonderful comeback story,
Good teams win, great teams cover, boys.
That's great. Hey, Bo, thanks for being on. Do you guys have anything else you want to share?
I don't have anything else to share, so I'll let Bo have some last words here.
Yeah, Bo.
No, I appreciate you guys having me on. I look forward to the year. I'm getting ready. I'm working on conjuring up the picks for this week. So good luck to everybody. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming. You may overtake Nick Diltz as the most hated pick'em player if you keep winning. Just so you know.
Hey, again, we're humble in defeat and we're humble in victory. So
that's a good man. Well, thank you guys. Dave, you want to cut the recording?
Yeah, I'll cut the recording. Thank you all for listening to Amateur Hour episode 2 with special guest Bo, the winner from week 1. Congratulations, Bo.
Go, Bo.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.